Good evening, everybody. Matt here from Anchor Down Gaming coming at you with another video. Now, I know that there's all kinds of great news going on in the gaming world right now. We got Final Fantasy VII Remake demo that just came out. We got a new announcement from Platinum on their new Project GG title, and we still are waiting for a Nintendo Switch Direct. But today, I wanted to do something a little different. So, it is the 3-year anniversary for the beloved Nintendo Switch system. And with that, I wanted to do a top 5 Nintendo Switch games for me personally that I enjoy to play. Be sure to subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. Hit that subscribe button right down there to help me reach my goal of 100 subscribers. And with that being said, everybody, let's get right into it. So to start this list off at number 5, we have Pokemon Sword and Shield. Now, I did get the Pokemon Sword version of the game, and I love this title. I know that there was a lot of controversy around this title and not having the full completed Pokedex and whatnot, and I was a little upset about that because I'm not I don't consider myself like a die-hard Pokemon fan, but I do enjoy the Pokemon games, and I'm not very familiar with any of the Pokemon after Gen 3, really. So a lot of this to me was a very, very fresh new experience, and I was a little upset that there wasn't, more older Pokemon from Gen 1 and specifically Gen 2 featured in this game. But after I got playing, it was just so addicting. I beat the whole game in like 5 days, or the main story at least, right? And after that, I just went around catching Pokemon for like 3 days and, completing the decks and whatnot. I'm not really too into getting the shinies. I know that you have to put, hundreds of hours in if you want to get those, but it was a great game. The graphics were great for the most part. In all the smaller areas, or the main areas, I guess, traditional areas, they were really, really good. And they definitely could have been a bit better in the wild area, but it wasn't enough to ruin the experience for me. I ended up liking a lot of the new Pokemon that I found. Some of them are a little silly, but I did enjoy most of them. The gym battles were really, really cool. I actually thought that it had a pretty good story with the 2 legendary Pokemon in the game and the plot throughout it. And it was overall just a really, really good Pokemon game. I thought it was great. I know that it didn't live up to some fans' expectations, and even my own expectations of what a Pokemon game on console, the first ever true Pokemon game on console could be like. It didn't fully live up to my expectations, but I also got to remember that it's only Game Freak making this game. It's not like we have a ginormous team creating it, right? Like, they are a big team, but compared to some other studios, they're not, right? So, I understood that and I took it for what it was, and yeah, I ended up enjoying it, and that's number 5 for my top 5 Switch games. Next up at number 4 is an amazing game for the Switch that came out in August of 2019, and that is Astral Chain. Developed by Platinum Games and published by Nintendo, this game blew me away. It's probably my favorite Nintendo game. Actually, no, scratch that. It is my favorite Nintendo published game that came out in 2019, and it's probably one of my favorite Nintendo games ever, honestly. The gameplay in this game blew my mind. It was just so smooth, so fast-paced, and so unique, where you're using the chain to connect your character to the Legion and the crazy combos that you can do, and using all of the different legions, how there's, the Sword Legion, the Beast Legion, the Axe Legion, the, Arrow Legion, so on. Just really, really, good gameplay, good upgrading for your characters and whatnot. Very, very fun to play, very smooth. And it had a pretty crazy story in it too. With the brother and the sister. Sorry for anyone that, hasn't played the game yet. There might be a few spoilers in this, but yeah, that connection between the 2 characters and what escalates later on in the story is pretty crazy. Like, to anyone that didn't finish the game, and I'm looking at you right now, Stale Lobster, you better finish that game soon, because it's one that you will definitely remember. And it's the kind of game that the last 3 missions in it are really what truly blow you away. Like, the first, 3 acts of the game was great, but towards the end, like, my mind was just in shambles at the end of what happened. Soundtrack was absolutely incredible. It had that real anime soundtrack to it with the rock music and whatnot going, and it was just a joy to play. I super hope that they do a sequel to this. I think they probably will, because it was a very successful title for Nintendo according to Platinum, and for Platinum themselves, of course. And a sequel could definitely be amazing for this. They have a lot of potential to grow it and make it a bigger title. And yeah, Astral Chain's really good. If you haven't played it yet, it's a must-have title for the Nintendo Switch, in my opinion. So yeah, that's number 5 for my list. All right, now we're getting to number 3 for my top 5 Nintendo Switch games. And this might come as a surprise to some, but Super Mario Odyssey actually takes the place of number 3, not number 2. I love Super Mario Odyssey. This is, to me, the best 3D Mario ever made, hands down. I like it more than Sunshine, I like it more than 64, I like it more than Galaxy 1 and 2 and 3D World. This Mario game was what I always wanted ever since Mario 64 first came out. Just straight to the point, big open sandbox levels, all kinds of collectible items inside of them. And I remember at first, when I found out that they were doing the moons, I was like, okay, cool. Like, they're going to do moons instead of stars. That's cool, right? But then when I found out that there was like 900 or 700, I can't remember, moons in the game, I was like, holy, like they're taking this to a whole nother level. And I had such a blast playing it. I was taking my time, trying to, get as many moons as I could. I know that there's some people that beat Mario Odyssey in like 6 hours. I wasn't one of them people. I took my time with it, and I was probably about 25, 30 hours in by the time I actually, beat Bowser and saved Peach and whatnot. And even after that, I still kept playing. I completed multiple worlds 100%, and I still go back to it occasionally to complete all the moons and whatnot. I think I have like 700 and some moons right now or something like that. I'm pretty close, but I still have like, a couple hundred left to get. But yeah, no, amazing Mario game, using Cappy and all the different abilities that you can do and summon him on enemies and whatnot and use their powers. Just so great. They really nailed that aspect of it, made it unique in its own way. I mean, New Donk City, like one of the best levels ever made, right? The beach theme level, one of the best levels ever made from Mario, for sure. I really hope that we get a Super Mario Odyssey sequel. I would be perfectly fine with that if we did. If we don't and we end up getting, Galaxy 3, I'd be fine with that too. But I would really, really like to see Super Mario Odyssey 2. So that's number 3 for my top 5 Nintendo Switch games. All right, getting down to it, we are now at number 2 for my top 5 Nintendo Switch games, and it is Xenoblade Chronicles 2. I never played Xenoblade before. I never played 1, I never played X, and something about this game, when I first seen the trailer to it during the January Nintendo Switch presentation, something about it just struck with me. The graphic style, the music, I was like, I need to see what this game is about. I had no idea what the gameplay was going to be like going into it, no idea what the characters were like, the story, none of that. And I ended up enjoying it so much that it's actually one of the greatest games I've ever played, and I'd probably put it in my top 10 games, honestly, because it just means that much to me. I remember the night that I beat it, I was about 85 hours into the story, and I stayed up until 3 in the morning just to finish it, and I never really experienced a satisfaction from gaming like what I got from when I beat Xenoblade Chronicles 2. Just the characters, Rex, Pyra, Mythra, the connections between them, the story, the emotions, very, very great. The music, absolutely incredible. The worlds in it are beautiful. How you travel across the Titans and whatnot. It's all just really, really great stuff. The gameplay, it took a bit to master. It didn't really click with me until I was about 30 hours in. And I was wondering, I was like, what am I doing wrong? Like, something's not right. And then when I finally just kind of slowed down and figured out how to chain all my combos together using the elements that they all use, that's when I was just like, okay, now this is really getting incredible. Like, I got this, I got it down, right? And the challenge of the game too was amazing. Like, of course, you guys who have played Xenoblade know that it's all auto attack based, and you have to, perform your combos with the elements and whatnot with your characters. But there were some fights that I did that literally took me 45 minutes straight to beat. Now, I don't know if that's just because I was underpowered or whatnot. So of course, not all of them took that long. There were some fights that took me about 40-45 minutes to complete, and that's, you know, like without dying. So, yeah, no, amazing game. I'm super excited for Xenoblade Chronicles Definitive Edition once it launches on the Nintendo Switch later this year. It's going to be a day one purchase for me, as long as it doesn't come out on any other platforms. And yeah, it's going to be amazing. Xenoblade Chronicles 2, number 2 for my top 5 Nintendo Switch games. All right, now we're finally down to my number 1 Nintendo Switch game. And I don't think this is a surprise to many people. It's number 1 by a lot of other people, and to some people, it's the number 1 game in its own franchise and possibly every game ever made. And that's The Legend of Zelda: Breath of the Wild. This was the most excited I ever was for a game of all time. When this game came out, nothing else mattered. My whole life got basically just put on hold, except for, you know, going to work, and I was just playing this game nonstop. I booked 3 days off work just to play it. I got it on launch day, got my Nintendo Switch, and it was one of the best days of my life. We had such a wait between Breath of the Wild and Skyward Sword. You know, what was it, like 6.5 years? So waiting that long, and then getting a Zelda game that was this good and this much of an improvement, and Nintendo just, you know, they listened to the fans in so many ways. Does it have its flaws? Absolutely. You know, I made a video covering a little bit of that with my top 5 things I'd like to see in the Breath of the Wild sequel, so I guess you could count some of those as flaws, or I cover them. But, you know, everything else, it's still a 10 out of 10. It has so much good stuff that overshadows the flaws that you couldn't not give it a 10 out of 10 rating, honestly, because it's done just things that no game has ever done before. I've always been a big fan of open world games. They're my favorite type to play, but this just did it so much different. It was the first ever open world game where I truly just didn't care what I was doing in the world. I didn't care about doing any missions. I saw some place and I said, I want to go there just to see what's over there, because the world was just so beautiful. And I'm also, you know, pretty familiar with the backgrounds of Zelda. So I was always curious to see, right? Like, what was around that corner? What was, you know, down in that canyon? What was around, you know, the other side of that mountain, you know, or in that forest, or, you know, behind that rock? All that stuff. It just kept me interested the whole time. My file on it, I completed literally everything on it except for the 900 Koroks. I think I'm at like about 360, but I did all the shrines, all the side quests, everything to a T, all the DLC. And yeah, it's one of the best games I've ever played. And I struggle to decide between Breath of the Wild and Ocarina of Time, which one I like more. I really switch back and forth quite a bit. So super excited for the Breath of the Wild sequel. Hopefully it comes out this year in 2020, but I have a feeling it's going to come out in 2021. So with that being said, Breath of the Wild is my number 1 Nintendo Switch game. What a surprise. That's all for today, guys. Yeah, it's the 3-year anniversary to the Switch. Happy anniversary. And yeah, we've had an amazing run so far with the Nintendo Switch. It's truly an incredible system. My favorite system to play. And I just really hope that we get a Nintendo Direct soon, because my fever is just going through the roof right now. I need some stuff to play for this year on Nintendo, because as of right now, the only confirmed games that I will be playing 100% are Animal Crossing and Xenoblade Chronicles Definitive Edition. That's not very much of a lineup. I know Animal Crossing and Xenoblade are both amazing, but come on, Nintendo. Don't keep us waiting. We need to know what games we're going to be playing this year. With that being said, that's all I got for today, guys. Thank you very much for subscribing to the channel. Everyone, be sure to follow me on Twitter at AnchorDown902 and on Instagram at AnchorDownGaming. And until then, everybody, have a great night.